Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today in this video, as someone who is a big fan of history, I thought it would be a nice idea to create an API which gives us all the events that happened on the current day, all the events in general, the events for a current month, and the historical events for a current, like an actual day, like a specified day. And yeah, so we'll be using the FastAPI, which is, I guess, an upcoming Python web framework. It's really fast. I think for a Python like web framework, it's definitely up there. It's definitely a contender for Flask as well, as I think Flask is kind of, well, for me at least, starting to lose its mojo. Whereas FastAPI comes with a lot more. Like, we get this really beautiful interface, and that's just with the /docs. And yeah, we can really interact with the API this way, which is really nice and definitely great for development. In terms of like the events and where we get these events, we'll web scrape them, or we'll scrape them from this lovely website, which is called onthisday.com. And yeah, like the reason why I went with this is it has like a really nice URL. So if you want the event for a certain day, we can do /day / the month name, in this case April, and the day itself, so April 19th. And that's really nice. And yeah, collecting it from here is quite nice as well. And but you'll see that later on anyway. And yeah, so we'll be collecting our web scraping using Beautiful Soup, which is a fantastic library for web scraping in Python. And we'll then just throw them into like a JSON file, and then allow our API to give us like the data from that. So if we were to do today, run this, execute it. So these are all the events that happened today. And today is the time of filming, it's 18th of April. So these are all historical events that happened on the 18th of April. We can also use, just get all the events in general. I'd run this, but it's pretty large, like there's loads of events there. But there we'd just get all events. And in fact, I think it might be easier if we did to do it here. So these are all the events that we've collected. And yeah, as you can see, like January, and then all the events that happened on the 1st of January. And it just gives us this JSON response, plain and simple. We can do the events of like a given month. So we could say, like, let's do February, execute that. And these are all the events that occurred in February. So all the important historical events that happened then. So yeah, from the 1st all the way to the 29th. And also we have like all the events that happen on a specific day. So we could do here, we could say February, and then let's say 24th, the most important day of the year, and run that. And these are all the events that occurred on my birthday. So yeah, it's a pretty nice project. I enjoyed making it. It's also quite simple. There's not a lot of code that we have to write. And I thought, yeah, why not? Like, it'd be a cool thing to do. So yeah, like the API, or if you want to check out the docs for FastAPI, that's on fastapi.tiangolo.com. I hope that's how you pronounce it. And yeah, the docs are fantastic. I definitely recommend you guys checking that out. I'll put that in the description. And yeah, like it states some really key features. So it's high performance, again, which is quite a surprise for Python, or pretty hard to do at least. And it states that it's on par with Node.js and Go. Yeah, rapid development, and yeah, very minimal in terms of how it encourages you to write APIs with FastAPI. But yeah, it's really nice. And also we'll be doing this asynchronously, which comes with FastAPI, which is definitely something that all modern APIs or RESTful APIs definitely have. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this project. And of course, like the code as well will be in a GitHub repo, and I'll post a link in the description below. So yeah, go check that out. If you don't want to hear me ramble, or if you just want to follow along, that's there for you. But yeah, let's get coding. Okay, so to get started, just pick any IDE or text editor of your choice. I'm using VS Code. However, I guess PyCharm or Notepad even works fine. But yeah, like I prefer this just because of I guess I'm just used to it over the past few years. But yeah, anyway, so the first thing we want to do is set up the virtual environment, and that will be done just by running Python 3 venv and then venv, whatever name you prefer. Run that, create the virtual environment, you can see here, and then just to run the virtual environment, so in this case it's like so source venv bin activate, unless you've created the virtual environment within the folder you're in, then I guess it's just bin/activate. So that once we have that installed, we can first go about installing the FastAPI. And yeah, in this case I'm using pip. You can do pip install FastAPI square brackets all. So pip install FastAPI square brackets all. Run that. And that's what we need for FastAPI. And once that's done, we need Beautiful Soup. As soon as that's finished, we can also install Beautiful Soup, which is pip install Beautiful Soup 4, and hit enter on that. Could have just done it all in one line, but yeah, just to make it clear in terms of what we're installing. I should also upgrade my pip, but well, okay, so now that we have this, we can go about creating our source folder, and in there, like, just our init file, .py. Yep, so again, like in this video, we'll just focus on setting up the project and getting the web scraper running and collecting the events. And then in the next one, we'll focus on writing the API. But yeah, like once we have the initializer file added, we can go about creating our web scraper. So the first one that I want to create is the scraper itself. So we can just call it scraper.py. And from there, what we'll do is first, like I like doing some typing. So we will be getting some, we'll be using the typing module. So yeah, if you don't want to use that, then that's completely up to you. But first we need requests, and I like to rename them with the underscore just to keep it like protected within the file. Like protected as in we know that we shouldn't be importing requests from like scraper.py into another file. And then also let's import Beautiful Soup like so. And so the first thing we want is we want to like generate the URL. So we can do generate month URL, or just say generate URL. And we can say we want to take in a month and a day. We say an integer, and this will return a string. We just want to return the URL itself. So the URL we'll be using is, again, this one from on this day. So we can just take that and say the URL equals this here. And we want to replace the month with the month that we pass in, and then the day as well, like so, and then just return URL. Like it's a very, very simple function here. It's just to keep things organized, so we know that, like we don't want to put this in another method, and we can just make this call when we want to create a URL. And next we want to get the page, so we can do get page like so. And these are the reason why these are I put an underscore under these is because we'll only be making use of these methods within this file. We don't want to import them, so when we create like another script and we're importing scraper, we see this underscore, we know like, okay, we shouldn't be doing that. It's just good practice to do that. So this will take in a URL and it will return a Beautiful Soup object like so. And once we've done that, like we can get the page, and that will be requests.get, and then the URL, which is the one we pass in. And then we can do soup equals underscore bs4 dot beautiful soup, and say page dot content. So all the stuff that comes with the page that we requested, and we want it to be passed as HTML, like so. And then we can just return soup. And then finally, this is the method we'll be using elsewhere. So we can do events of the day. And what this will take in is a month, which is a string, and also the day, which is an integer. And this will return a list. So we could actually just import this here. This is just more of a, again, like habit that I have. I mistyped programming languages. So we can do from typing, import list, like so. And we say it will be a list of strings. So what this method will do is return the events of a given day, like so. And so we can do URL equals get generate URL, specify the month and the day. Now that we have the URL, we can ask for the page. So we can do get page, pass in URL. And then finally, we can extract the raw events from that page. And so to get that, we need to have a look at the on this day website. So if we go to inspect, and we want these events here. So for example, like British explorer Captain James Cook first sights Australia on April 19th. So we can click this, and here you can see on the side, all of these events have a class event. So this one has an event, so the one with James Cook, Captain James Cook, and then the one underneath that. So we basically just want these, like everything where event is. And so what we can do is say we want the page to find all occurrences, unless there are other like tags that have the class event. We'll see that in a second. But we want everything with, we want to find all occurrences of tags that have the class event. And so the reason why we have class underscore is because the term class is reserved, like in Python. So we need to say class underscore. And then, so now that we have the raw events, we can actually, let's print raw events, see what comes out. So let's do events of day, and let's say, let's do February, and then 24. This works, so we can go into the source folder and then run Python scraper. So actually, yeah. Just before we continue, I will also be installing the formatter black. It's just nice to have everything formatted in a lovely way. So yeah, you can do that. If that didn't show up for you, you can just do pip install and then black, like so. But yeah, that's just, again, a recommendation. Okay, so if we go back now, we can see all the events that we have. So we have these here. We can actually check actually on, can we go back to, is there a calendar that we can get to? Yeah, so we can go to February 24th. And we have, okay, so February 24th and year 303, first official Roman edict of, okay, that's a pretty dark one, but we have this here. Yeah, so that's like all working out fine. So now that we know we're getting the events, so these are all the events, we can basically say, we can filter them out and just clean them up a bit. So we can do events and have like a nice list comprehension. We can say event.text, and what that will do is just extract the text outside of these tags. So the text that's within the tag that has the class event. So we can do event.text for event in raw events, like so. And then we can just test that out here and just do print events. So now if we run this, let's just clear it. We have a lovely list, a very clean one of the events that happen. So the first one, and then separated, we have the second, and these all align up with what we have here. Cool, and instead of printing, we can just do return events, like that. So that's basically the scraping done. The next step would be to have this like collected and put into a JSON file. Like we don't want to put it in a database. It's, I think, a bit of an overkill for this. A JSON file here will suffice. So what we can do is we can create a script called collect events, and this will basically take all these events and put them inside a JSON file. So we can now first set up our method. So we want to collect the events from the beginning of the year up until from January 1st all the way up until the end of the year. So January 1st of the next year or December 31st, I think. And so the way we go about this is we need to create a function that allows us to loop through every single day of the year, and also keeping in mind that we have leap years. So we need to be aware of that. So we should select a year that has a leap year included. So we'll go through February 29th. So what we want is, first of all, to create that method. So we can do date range, like so. And there we'll pass in a start date. And that will be of type date time. So we can do from date time or import date time as underscore dt, and say dt.date, as it will be a date, and the end date, which will be again date, like so. And this will return an iterator. So we can do from typing import iterator, and we'll do iterator, and that will return date. So now that we have that, we can go about creating our for loop. So it'll loop from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So we can say for n in range, and we can then say we want to convert the difference into like an integer value. So end date minus start date, and then after that just do the days, and we want to yield like each day afterwards from the start date. So we can do start date plus date time, and we want the time delta, which allows us to increment each day and by n. So this will basically allow us to do that. So what we can do is we can go ahead and start with like getting those events. So we can do something like create events underscore dictionary, and here we'll say events equals, like we'll initialize this with an empty dictionary, and say and this will return, say, dict. So we can do start date being the date, like so, and we'll go from 2020 January 1st to the end date. So we know, like with a for loop, it won't include the last element. So to do that, we can just say that we want 2021 January 1st. So that will be up until that date. So it will not include end date. So we'll get the entire year. And from what I know, 2020 is a leap year, so it's fine. and we can do for date in range, like start date, and date range, and end date. And we can actually just print out date itself, see where this gets us. So let's keep this, yeah, that's fine like that. Okay, we can clear that. So let's run, oops. So we create event state. We can say Python collect events. And so yeah, that pretty fast. So we get up until December 31st, and we start from January 1st. So January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all the way up until December 31st. So now that we have that, so we've got the loop working, we can now say the month. And we want the month, like you can see here, the month is coming up as a number. We don't want that because in our scraper, the month is passed as like its actual name. So in order to do that, we can do like date dot string format time, and the value we want to pass in here is percentage capital B, and also we want to lower that like so. As like here, like February here is lowercase f. So now that we have this, we can do if month is not in events, we can then create that month and set that as a dictionary. So the way we want this to or our JSON file to look is something a bit like so we'll have January, and that will then have like the first, and that will be some event, and then second, another event, and then we'd also want, actually let me just add here so it doesn't format it, and then we can also do like February and so on and so forth, and that's just kind of style we want. So yeah, with events, so if the month isn't in there, so let's say February isn't in there, it will create that and initialize that with a empty dictionary. And then finally we can say events month, and then the day. So the day we can keep as a number, like naturally, and say equals the scraper. So we want the now we need the scraper, so we can do import scraper as scraper, and we can say scraper dot events of day, and we can pass in the month and the day itself like so. And then finally we can return the events. So we can try this out now. We can say instead of going all through the entire, like it's a bit of a long loop for now, we can say from January 1st up until we can do January 5th, something like that. So we can now print create events like so, and run that. And yeah, that was actually not as slow as I thought it would be. So we have now January, and so the 1st of January, and these are all the events happen on the 1st of January. And then on like, let's find another one. We have, yeah, the 2nd of January, all the events that happen the 2nd of January, and up until the 4th of January, as like the 5th will not be included. So yeah, that's working fine. That's what we want. And now we can remove that, And then we can go about adding all of this information into the JSON file. So to do that, we can say, we'll put it in here. So if anyone were to run this, it'd just update the JSON. So we can do that, and we can say the events equal create events dict. And then we can do with open, and we want to, let's call this events.json, and we say the mode we'll do is we're writing to it, and say as events file. And so we just want to dump all that in. We want to import JSON. Like that. Say JSON.dump. We can say events, and then into the events file, and just to ensure ASCII, we can set that to false. So we'll run that again. We'll run this with like the first 4 days of the year, and here we'll see the here within the source folder, we'll see the JSON file being created. If we run this, and there we have it. We have the events. So from on January 1st, we have these events, 2nd, 3rd, and then 4th. Yeah, so that's working fine. So we can now try this out with the entire year, which will take a moment to run as well. So we can do up until then. So I'll run this, and yeah, I'll pause this for now and then get back to you as soon as this is finished. So now that this is run, we can check the events file, which is huge. Yeah, I'm getting like, for performance reasons, yeah, some things have been like pulled back. Click OK there, click save. Yeah, hopefully this hasn't overloaded too much on the computer, but yeah, we have all the events now. So from January 1st all the way to December 31st. Yeah, which is great. Like, it's what we want. And this kind of finalizes like the scraper itself. We don't really need to do anything else now for the web scraper. We've collected all the events, and yeah, now we can get started with the FastAPI and create the API, and that's what we'll do in the next video.